So that went there. Is this my link here? Yes. And then interested in career fighting fraud. Now the text, the copy around this, they actually wrote the text. I just gave them the resources, and so they wrote that. And then they see how they're linking it here to another TED Ed lesson. So there's a TED Ed lesson, how to spot a counterfeit bill. There's another lesson here that talks about lying. I'll show you that you can use in your classes, in any class. And then this is the one that I've gotten some interest in emails within the TED Ed platform, but also outside of it, because you can find my email anywhere. But research shows that 40% of frauds are reported by a whistleblower. If you saw a fraudulent act, would you report it? So I've collected probably like 30 responses to this. Some people would, some people wouldn't. When we were celebrating the Challenger anniversary a couple months ago, I got some interesting things about when they found this. I don't know if they Googled whistleblower and that came up. But that is my lesson. And so here, customize this lesson. 102 people have customized it and used it, however, in their classes, whether it's elementary or middle school or high school or college. But another lesson that I use a lot in my classes is let's see if it comes up. This one here by Noah. So you can see this one has 2.9 million views. How to spot a liar. So there's a TED Talk that's about 18 minutes on lie spotting by Paul and Meyer, but this one is similar, but it's 4 minutes and it's an animation. So I use this in my fraud class. I use it in my managerial accounting class. You can use it in any class because it's about lying. And so it's funny because I use it at the beginning, so the students they're like, okay, what's she trying to say? Like how to spot a liar. And you can tell, like you can see these tips. You see them in people. And so it's a really great animation. So I'm trying to get to 2.9 million. So make sure you share it with your network so I can get mine up to 2.9 million. But I'm going to stop here and see if you have any questions, and then I can keep going.
So when someone customizes your lesson, do you get a copy of that? Does it become part of a pool, or how does that work?
Let me see, because I've never customized it. I think, let me go back. Well, let's customize his. So I think you can ask questions and you can build it. It does become a part of a pool that people can go and use. But I've never customized one. And no one's ever followed back up to me like, oh, we customized your lesson and we really like it. But I've never done one. But I think it could be good because, you can preview, you can publish it, and other people can use it. Yeah, I think it's cool. Yeah. Yeah.
So, are you paying anything for this?
No. No. It's all free. But I actually, at the end, in like August, I got an Amazon gift card for $200. That was nice. It was nice. I wasn't expecting it from them, so it was nice. But you're not paid at all, and it's a lot of work. But you have to know, you have to go into it knowing exactly what your voice is. And so I think sometimes, being an academic, we talk about things in such an abstract way, and this is like the exact opposite of that. So whatever you think you would do with your academic voice, quiet that down and do your journalistic voice, because that's what they really want, with sprinkles of research in there.
So the average time is like 4 minutes?
Yeah, so the average animation time is 4 to 5 minutes. I think Noah's was 5 minutes. I want to say his was a little bit longer. And I guess they liked his voice because he recorded his own. So he didn't have a voiceover artist. He did his own. But the first one, the left-handedness one, was 5 minutes. I think mine was right at 4. Yeah.
So how do you think the experience has changed your teaching?
How do I think the experience has changed my teaching? So I use a lot of video in my class anyway. And what I like about this and how I think it's changed is I teach in nuggets now more so than I ever did before, because these 4 minutes have a lot of power in them. There's a lot of information. And so I think that our millennial learners are very visual anyway. So I try to incorporate video more or animation more than I probably did before. And I try to talk in very general terms where I might talk more abstractly like in an academic conference, and I think in a classroom we tend to bring that voice, but I try to speak like they really want to know what I'm saying. Like they really, if you didn't understand accounting, you could understand what I'm saying, and I think this is the platform that they try to get you to write in. So I try to bring that into the classroom.
And you said the op-ed you think is probably the best sort of preparation for faculty here.
I think for me it was, but I also think it depends on what your research topic is. And so when I say fraud, I can say fraud to any discipline, and everybody can sort of relate to that. And so I think for me, the op-ed project really helped me figure out a way to make that voice applicable into the media, into the larger space. And without that training, I don't know if I could have turned this around as fast. But with op-ed, you do it so much. Like I think when I was in op-ed, I published maybe 5 articles. And so I got used to thinking about what the question was. And so most of my op-ed was linking to popular culture. So it was easy for me to say, oh, there's an issue. I can link that to these 3 theories and get people to really understand it. I'll show you what I'm talking about. A couple years ago, I don't even know how to get to my own site, but I just have to Google it. Maybe more than a couple years ago, I met an editor at Forbes, and so they gave me a blog, and I'm supposed to blog a lot more than I really do, but so all of my things relate back to popular culture. So does anybody in the room watch Empire, or you've heard of Empire on Fox? Okay. All right. So this was my op-ed in September, accounting lessons learned from Empire. And so there actually are accounting. It's all about an accounting issue, believe it or not. And so this is written using the day Empire premiered for season 2. And so it's about the accounting lessons that are talked about in Empire. So that one had almost 3,000 views. This one here, who really blew it? Jackie Robinson, West coaches, or Chris James. This was interesting because, so you saw it has 4,200 views. But what happened is when the whole Jackie Robinson West conversation or controversy was going on, I was really surprised about how many people were really attacking Chris James. So I happened to be teaching the forensic accounting class, and so I was like, wow, this is interesting because he just really told what he saw, but everybody's attacking him. So I just sat down and I just wrote this, and it took me about an hour and a half. And I found that if I'm pissed off about something, I can sort of write really quickly. So I wrote this, and I put it on Twitter, put it on Facebook, put it on LinkedIn. And so when I put it on Twitter, a Cranes reporter picked it up, and she retweeted it. And then a reporter from DNA Info picked it up. And so he sent me a message through Twitter saying, this is a really cool article. I would really love to come to your class Monday night. Because this whole article was like, what am I going to tell my students? I'm telling my students to whistleblow, but yet look what happens when someone whistleblows. So he said he wants to come to my class. I'm like, sure. And then he said, and I'm going to bring Chris James to your class. And I said, great. So Monday night, Mark Conkle and Chris James came to my class, and they sat in class with us for 2 hours. So that quarter, I had 42 students. Half the class loved Chris James, and a few of the kids had played on the same league that Chris James coached in, and half the class hated Chris James, and you could visibly see it in their face. Like they thought he was a traitor, whistleblower. But what I had the students do, so I had Chris sitting here, and I had the students, I wrote on the chalkboard, I said, whistleblower, what do you think about it? What do you think versus what is the public think? And I gave everybody a piece of chalk, and they went around and they wrote their views. So they thought the public said traitor, fraud, all these bad names. And the things that they said was a moral person. So I had Chris James sit on the board that was the moral person board. And so then Mark Conkle wrote an article about his experience coming to DePaul. And so when he posted that article, about 2 months later, WGN TV called me and said, we saw this article about Chris James coming to your class. Will you come in the studio and do a session on whistleblowing? And, oh, by the way, it's going to be at like 4, you need to be here at 4 o'clock in the morning. Mm-hmm. So it was one of these days where it snowed like 1,000 feet of snow. So I went in and did that, all because of just writing this. So this one here, these that have the big views, so this one has 54,000 views, this one has 40,000 views. These are because they're related to the Real Housewives franchise. So this one's Real Housewives of Atlanta, this one's Real Housewives of Atlanta. These two led to going to being taped on an episode of Real Housewives of Atlanta. I lie to you not. So I'll tell you that story. And it's, yes, an accounting professor was on Real Housewives of Atlanta because of this. So I wrote, this was the first article that I wrote, The Miseducation of Apollo Nida. And I posted that to Twitter. Somehow he got to it, read it, thought it was a good article. Now, it was sort of bad about him, but he thought it was a good article because it was factual about his fraud. And so he said, you know, would love to talk to you. Here's my phone number. So we started talking, and my best friend is a clinical psychologist in North Carolina. And so we went down to Atlanta, and we did these interviews with him. And so when we were there, the team asked us, well, do you guys mind being on camera and talking about this session with Apollo? So we never watched it. I don't know if it aired or not. I couldn't. I can tell you.
I'm up to date on all the episodes. I haven't seen it yet.
So this was old. So this would have been.
Okay.
This would have been. Yeah, and I didn't tell anybody about it when it was going on because I mean, you know. So that one happened, and then after we interviewed him, this one happened the day he was going to prison. So this was just sort of like just, you know, the reflection type piece. And so that got picked up by a lot of blogs, good blogs and bad blogs. And so this one here was about Teresa Gadushi from the Real Housewives of New Jersey. Now she's home, but so that one had a couple views. But you see, all of my things are a little bit linked to popular culture, but they're still research based, but just in a different voice. And that all came from the op-ed project. So a very long answer to the question that you asked me, but it's still all related because being able to write this way helped me write this quicker and just sort of get to the point of what I want people to know fast. And so it helped a lot. Other question? Yeah.
For your TED Talk, do you own that content now, or does TED own that content?
You know what? That's a good question. I would imagine in the production agreement that I signed, that I only read the first couple sentences to, that answer is there. And I would imagine that they own the content, but it's okay. I mean, I don't, there's nothing wrong, I don't think, with them owning that. And you can use it, so it's not like I get permission from them to use it, or if it's loaded on the DePaul website, we have to send an email to Ted.
So you have the file, you could post it
Yeah,
on
you
your own
can
site.
use it. Yeah, you can post it.
No issue.
If I wanted to go and post that to Facebook right now, I could, you could, anybody could. Because, you know, their whole concept is ideas worth sharing. So, share it, you know. I did sign up for the DePaul TEDx application, so we'll see if I get picked. I'm not sure. I might not. But I did tell them I did a lesson, did Greek. Can I do a talk too? But, so yeah, I think they own it. I should read that. But it's not like I'm going to try to sell it to anybody.
Yeah. So is the process for a talk any different than lessons?
So the DePaul talk was a really quick application online where you just said, you know, who you are, what's your affiliation to the DePaul community, what would your potential topic be? And so my potential topic was what I've learned about myself interviewing felons. And so we'll see if they like it or not.
I thought I did that too, but for like
given the fact that Shonda Rhimes just did hers, I doubt that I'll ever be picked for that. So I think you have to be like something that's like super amazing has happened to you.